In this video, I want to ask, why am I not an atheist? There are many reasons why I'm not an atheist, but I want to focus on one main reason that's not often explored in apologetics and discussions about why atheism is basically a non-starter, really, for me. Before I do that, I just want to quickly run through the perfectly valid reasons that people give for rejecting atheism. One is the evidence of physics. One of the most striking discoveries of modern science has been that the laws and constants of physics unexpectedly conspire in an amazing way to make our universe habitable for life. There's the evidence of astronomy, and similar to the fine-tuning of physics, Earth's position in the universe and its intricately choreographed geological and chemical processes work together with an amazing efficiency to create a safe space for us to live in. There's the evidence of biochemistry, those amazing systems that you can, there's biological mechanisms that you can see at the biological level, transporting proteins within cells. You can see them on YouTube these days. These extraordinary pieces of engineering, I personally cannot believe, are the products of blind evolution, Darwinian processes of survival of the fittest. They're too intricate and engineered to be anything other than produced by intelligent design, in my view. There's the evidence of biological information. There are 6 feet of DNA called inside every one of our body's 100 trillion cells, containing a 4-letter chemical alphabet that spells out the precise instructions for all those proteins from which our bodies are made. An extraordinary discovery in recent years, DNA. There's the evidence of consciousness itself. How can mere chemistry and physics produce our consciousness? There's no explanation forthcoming. It seems that consciousness is itself an incredible property. Now, all these are perfectly valid reasons for rejecting atheism. Physics suggests a creator who is intelligent, who's involved. Astronomy shows a creator giving us incredibly precise and careful purpose and design to the universe. Biochemistry, biological information demonstrate the creator is, well, creative. Consciousness shows the creator's rationality, and I think gives credibility to the idea of life after death. These characteristics do not, in my view, describe the God of deism, who supposedly formed the universe and then abandoned it and went off somewhere else. Nor is it pantheism, the idea that the creator and the universe are somehow coexistent or one. Polytheism, with its multiple gods, falls short of that. And this impersonal force of New Age beliefs, again, doesn't kind of match up, I think, to what we see in the science. Now, when I usually quote the Apostle Paul, I'm usually quite critical of him, to be honest, but I want to quote an extract from his letter to the Romans, which he wrote, 2,000 years ago now. In Romans chapter 1, he writes about the creation and our place in it. And he says, "For what can be known about God is plain to humanity, because God has shown it to them. Ever since the creation of the world, his eternal power and divine nature, invisible though they are, have been understood and seen through the things he has made. So they are without excuse." I think that's very good. But the reason, as I say, I am not an atheist, and one of the main reasons is actually none of the above, although they're all perfectly good reasons. And for that, I want to turn to the writing of Ibn Taymiyyah. Now, he was a medieval Islamic theologian from Damascus, and he was a Muslim, obviously. And for him, one of the central concepts for talking about God as an alternative to the Kalam theologians, these are other Muslim theologians who drew heavily on Greek philosophy to prove the existence of God through reason, say the cosmological argument or the teleological argument or so on. he focused perhaps more than anyone else on this concept of fitra. That's in English, F-I-T-R-A. Now, what is this fitra? Well, the Quran talks about the fitra in the 30th chapter, verse 30, and I'll just read it to you. So, Prophet, as a man of pure faith, stand firm and true in your devotion to religion. This is the natural disposition God instilled in humankind. There is no altering God's creation, and this is the right religion, though most people do not realize it. Turn to him alone, all of you. Now, this concept of fitra is found in this phrasing, this is the natural disposition God instilled in mankind. That is the fitra. And also there is a hadith which also talks about this precisely the same thing. I'll just get that up in a second. So the hadith says, every child is born on the fitra, and then his parents make him a Jew, Christian, or Magian. Just as an animal gives birth to an unbranded animal, so do you see any animal born branded until you yourselves brand it? So a child is born in this natural state of fitra, which I'll define in a second. It's parents that make him a Christian or a Magian or etc. So what is this fitra, and why is it so important to the Quran and especially to Ibn Taymiyyah? Well, he says the fitra is a psycho-spiritual human faculty given by God, bestowed on man. It's this inherent belief in an all-powerful, perfect divine being. And along with this knowledge, it empowers man to go beyond his basic desires and to aspire to a higher cause, a noble cause, such as worshipping God and loving him alone. The fitra also gives human beings morality, this sense of natural justice that children have. You know, if they experience injustice, they will make it clear that they protest against this injustice. And it naturally inclines human beings, or all the human beings, towards the truth and towards noble virtues. Now, Ibn Taymiyyah also said, and he really massively enriched and expanded this whole concept of the fitra, which existed before him in the Quran and Sunnah and was discussed by other theologians, but he hugely discussed it and expanded the understanding, perhaps more than any other Islamic theologian ever. For him, the fitra was a cognitive faculty, able to recognize the truth of any prophetic message and receive the light of God's revelation. And it was like a healthy eye recognizing the bright light of the sun. So a pure fitra would naturally incline us towards wahi, revelation, the message, and accept it, recognizing it as being from its creator. Now, what has this got to do with proof of God? Well, modern science, I suggest, confirms this amazingly. It confirms Ibn Taymiyyah's extraordinary insight. So let me just show you where. Now, there's a recent study published by Oxford University Press, which I'll just get up. Here we go. Entitled Humans Predisposed to Believe in God and the Afterlife. Now, this is research conducted by the University of Oxford. I'll link it in the description below. Just to summarize the finding, it says, new research finds that humans have natural tendencies to believe in God and an afterlife. Research suggests that people across many different cultures instinctively believe that some part of their mind, soul, or spirit lives on after death. The studies demonstrate that people are natural dualists, finding it easy to conceive of the separation of the mind and the body. Dualism is an idea in philosophy that human beings are basically made up of a body and a soul. Now, for the fuller version of the story, I'll just briefly quote some further extracts. A 3-year international research project directed by 2 academics at the University of Oxford finds that humans have natural tendencies to believe in God and an afterlife. The Cognition, Religion and Theology project, led by Oxford, drew on research from a range of disciplines, including anthropology, psychology, philosophy, and theology. They directed an international body of researchers conducting studies in 20 different countries that represented both traditionally religious and atheist societies. So they basically went to a representative sample across the world. Project Director, Professor Roger Treek from the University of Oxford said, "This project suggests that religion is not just something for a peculiar few to do on Sundays instead of playing golf. We have gathered a body of evidence that suggests that religion is a common fact of human nature across different societies." This is the Fitra. "This suggests that attempts to suppress religion are likely to be short-lived, as human thought seems to be rooted to religious concepts, such as the existence of supernatural agents or God or gods, and the possibility of an afterlife or pre-life." As I say, I'll link to that below. So this is a stunning modern confirmation of this idea of the fitra we find in the Qur'an and Sunnah, and expanded and elaborated to such a great extent by Ibn Taymiyyah in his writings. And this makes a great deal of sense. This is a very modern way, in a way, of looking at the issue of God's existence through psychology, through science, empirical evidence, as well as the indications of the existence of a transcendent being whom we call God. It is hardwired into our natures, just as we are people who naturally think. We have appetites and desires which are meant to be fulfilled in healthy ways. We also have a natural instinct to worship God alone. This is part of our nature. Atheism then is a denial of our human nature. Actually, it cuts across what it is to be human at the end of the day, not only in our anthropology, but also in the truth of who we are as creatures of the Creator. And I think there's a very powerful argument today, because you can bring in psychology, anthropology, theology, philosophy, and the scriptures as well, all tending to complement each other and reinforce this central fact of our humanity, which is our desire and need to worship God, a transcendent other. And another piece of evidence, which I'm not going to go into, is abundantly attested in the literature, that people who have a religion, who practice a faith sincerely, are in general report very high levels of personal satisfaction and happiness in their lives. They're not suicidal. They're not having existential crises of nihilism and atheism. These people have a fulfilling and rich life, and are consequently, on average, more psychologically healthy than those that don't. This is something that's come out in many recent studies. And this is another confirmation of the naturalness of faith. So I find that for modern man in our current situation, I think exploring this whole idea of the fitra as corroborated by science, leading to a fulfilled and happy life now, but also pointing beyond ourselves to the akira, to the hereafter as well, is an excellent way of exploring belief in God. And I find that a very rich and compelling reason why I am not an atheist. Until next time.